There's going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You know what? What can one of these quarterbacks or wide receivers do for me this year to make a wager? It's got to be the running conditions there for Jaden Daniels.
In regards to Jaden Daniels, you know I was on him in regards to the Heisman Trophy. I actually think he's going to do it on the ground, through the air. 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, playing in Cliff Kingsbury's offense where he wants to spread it and throw it. I think he's going to put up dynamic numbers.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
He had 4 grabs in the first half for just over 30 yards, was injured, came back in briefly, and then had to be carted off.
We were pessimistic on Puka Nakua's injury to the same right knee, of that being a nothing, just a bursa, and that's it, as per Sean McVay. We felt there could be a small PCL component.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Hello and welcome to a Thursday live right here on the Early Line on SportsGrid and all across the SportsGrid network. That includes sportsgrid.com/watch, where you can find your favorite destination to consume everything all across the grid. He is Donnie Rightside. I am Ben Stevens. The band back together on this Thursday for the next 3 hours up until 11 a.m. Eastern Time. A new football week begins. Thursday night football, the first short week football game of this NFL season in 2024. In Miami, a divisional duel and a good one to start between the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. A great college football game on this Thursday night in Texas as well. And Donnie, a little bit of conference realignment news in the overnight hours. Pac-12 after dark for a return. We'll break it down here to open up the show. Major League Baseball recaps, plenty more over these next 3 hours live right here on the Early Line.
Some big information tonight that we'll go over in the Buffalo Bills-Miami Dolphins game. Who is actually going to be the running back for the Miami Dolphins, but also, as Ben knows how to bring joy to my life. And let me tell you something, man. That Pac-12, they're putting a hell of an FCS conference together, man. Watch out.
FCS, he says. Well, they're close to being an FBS conference, reportedly. Donnie has always been a champion of the Conference of Champions. He's been a long and devout supporter of the Pac-12, so I'm sure the news overnight that we'll get to in just moments left him with a large, large smile. First, as Donnie loves, some Major League Baseball recaps to start off this Thursday. Shohei Ohtani closes in on the first ever member of the 50-50 club. A home run last night, 447. A stolen base as well. That's 48 this year as the Dodgers rally to knock off the Cubs and avoid a sweep in Los Angeles, 10-8. Ohtani had 3 RBIs and that solo shot, but the story was really Tommy Edman. 2 of his 4 home runs this season in the game last night against Chicago. 4 ribbies, and he sparked that comeback for Los Angeles.
Yeah, God, it's pretty wild to look at this, too, from Shohei Ohtani. We already know he's probably the overall best player in baseball. So the crime for Ohtani is what, Ben? he does things that are so outlandish that we sort of expect it to happen. Oh, 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases. Yeah, that sounds about right. Like, he's doing things nobody's ever done and continues to raise the bar. And then next year, he's probably going to do the same things at the plate and then return back to being almost a Cy Young, level pitcher on the mound. Enjoy this while you got it, Los Angeles, because he is doing something we've never seen before. But I feel like we're not even hyping it up enough on some of these numbers he's putting up, Ben.
He's doing it all without pitching on the bump, which is what you would expect next year. Maybe not stealing as many bags, but so far this season, deep into the season, Shohei Ohtani has been sensational, is going to run away with a National League MVP award in his very first year in the NL. Nobody in MLB history has ever hit at least 50 home runs and stolen 50 bases in the same season. Shohei Ohtani well on track. The New York Mets were getting no hit into the ninth inning in Toronto yesterday in the rubber match against the Blue Jays. Bowden Francis getting the start for Toronto. A no-hit bid for Francis into the ninth for the second time in his last 4 starts. He's been sensational since the month of August began, and then he gave up a home run to Francisco Lindor in the top of the ninth. Tied the game at 1-1. Francis, of course, gets pulled. That's how it goes. The Mets then scored 5 more runs, 6 in total in the ninth, after not recording a single base knock until that inning, and they take the rubber match against Toronto 6-2.
I mean, pour some out for those underbackers that had a guy with a no-hitter entering into the ninth in a 1-0 game. The game ends up 6-2, and it didn't even go into extra innings. That's certainly an anomaly. And also, Bowden Francis, shout out, man. Dad was a big Florida State fan, names the kid after Bobby Bowden. The guy's destined for greatness at this point. It seemed like he was going to be great. My goodness.
Nope.
What do you got?
Not a big Florida State fan, a big fan of Auburn head coach, former Auburn head coach, Terry Bowden, who you can see each and every Saturday on College Football Today.
That can't be the story.
We'll just make that the
There's
story.
no way that's the story.
I hope I didn't offend anybody with that joke there. Elsewhere, DRS in Major League Baseball, the rubber match up in the Bronx between the Yanks and the Royals. Into 11 innings we go, each team scoring a single run.
Hold on right now. I thought the story was, because his name is Robert Bowden. Yeah, Get Friezo on the air. Get our producers on the air. There was no way you were joking on that. I don't think you were joking on that. There's no way. There's no way.
Donnie, obviously, Bobby Bowden and his legion and his legend in college football is supreme. I was making a joke because his son,
now I like
Terry
the joke.
Bowden.
I like the joke, but the sarcasm meter wasn't there for you. You got to have a better sarcasm meter coming up here, because interrupting on that really made me think like I had to go back and say, like, there's no way that he was named after the other Bowden, because that would have been a story like, oh, somebody got me really good. So, all right, there we go. Now
DRS, that sounds like a you problem. This is what happens when we only work 2 days a week together now on the early line in football season. We forget our candor and our jokes together. Terry Bowden, who is a great guest here on the College Football Today show and of the SportsGrid Network, is the guy that I was referencing. That's Bobby's son, and that was the joke. Love to explain a joke. Again, back in the Bronx last night, rubber match between the Yankees and the Royals of this midweek set into 11 innings. Jazz Chisholm walks it off with an infield single for New York. They win the rubber match and the series over KC 4-3.
Yeah, that was a big victory for them, too, because you're looking at that, heading down the stretch. I think Fangraphs has them around like a 60 or 70% chance now, Ben, to win that division. Why? You're up a game and a half now over the Orioles, playing better baseball. The Orioles not playing so well. That was a key victory for them. And by the way, plus 130 price on the Royals. I thought that was the better bet last night, and it looked great for a while, even in the extras when they took the lead. But credit the Yankees. And how about this, Ben? You know what I like most of all here? We always watch regular season baseball in an extra innings. Nobody ever bunts the runner over to third base, because apparently, like, wins don't really matter in May and June and July. But once you get into September, did you see what the Yankees did when they were down 3-2 in that game in extra innings? They bunted the runner over to third base. Do that every time. I promise you, you will win so many more extra inning games if you just bunt the guy over to third base instead of trying to get a base hit to drive that guy in. Just wanted to have that food for thought there.
History last night in the WNBA. The most points scored ever in a single season in W history. And, of course, it's Asia Wilson. After missing Sunday's marquee matchup against the Liberty, Wilson returns last night in Indianapolis against Caitlin Clark and the Fever. She scores 27 and finishes with 12 boards as well. It was her 11th and 12th points of the night under the final 30 seconds of the opening half. A jumper to move past in that basketball game, Jewel Lloyd, for the most points ever in a single WNBA season.
The best women's basketball player on the planet on full display each and every night in Las Vegas. She dominates just about every single contest she's in. It doesn't surprise me the numbers that she's putting up in that record pace there.
A record pace indeed. Yeah. Now we get to the big overnight breaking news in true Pac-12 fashion. While most of the country was sleeping, those out on the West Coast still have life. It is reported the Pac-12 is going to add Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State, with Oregon State and Washington State to build the Pac-12 up to half of its name and have 6 member institutions starting in 2026.
I love this story. The Pac-12 should never be used for this conference here because even though I used to knock it, Ben, right? There's a lot of history in the Pac-12. So now we're going to start to hear things like first Pac-12 team in history to win 3 straight conference championships and something. No, it's not here. Start your own conference. The Pac-12, this shouldn't be called the Pac-12, Ben. This is the new WAC-12 that they're putting together. How about that?
We'll have more around college football in just a moment, including Sherrod Moore finally signing his full contract with the Michigan Wolverines. Lamar Jackson on the injury report when practice began back on the practice field yesterday in Baltimore.
But yeah, Sherrod Moore, did he 4.40 time, grabbed that pen, sprinted as fast as he could to sign that contract. Good man. Good man.
We'll have more of Donnie's unfiltered thoughts in college football now.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes! Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
We love some overnight breaking news in college football. Normally, conference realignment rumors and reports are saved for the summer months and the offseason, not entering week 3 of a college football campaign. But that did not slow down the Pac-12, a multi-phase plan, not a concept of a plan, but a true plan of expansion and realignment. Reports last night from Yahoo Sports' Ross Dellinger and others that the Pac-12 is intending to add Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State to its conference starting in 2026 alongside Oregon State and Washington State. Again, Donnie Rightside, long a champion of the Conference of Champions, has to be thrilled on this Thursday morning.
And let's understand this, Ben, because over the years, right, the Pac-12 was what? The Pac-10? Was there ever a different name before that? Was like the Pac-8? I don't even know at that point. The reason I'm getting behind this is
Pac-8, Pac-10, Pac-12.
Why are we still understand? Like the Pac-12 shouldn't be in existence anymore. It should be a new conference with a new name. It's disrespectful to the old conference. But why is it still the Pac-12 if we're not going to have 12 teams? Do you know what I mean? Like this doesn't make any. Nothing is making sense at this point now.
No. Well, nothing is making sense. We also heard during Big 12 Media Days in July in Las Vegas that they were interested in naming their conference the All-State Big 12 or the Big 12 All-State Conference to bring in licensing rights and money. That's the name of college football. How can you generate all the revenue as possible? But I will say, although as of this moment, it is the Pac-6, half of the number of 12, there is still a chance based on the multi-phase plan to realign and rebuild that once glorious conference out on the West Coast to maybe add more. And in fact, DRS, they need to add at least 2 more programs and member institutions if they want to be considered an FBS conference. You need at least 8 member schools to even be considered an FBS conference. And if they try to get back into the power conference idea, that remains a different story for a different time. But they still would need 2 schools starting in 2026 to even have a full 8 to be considered a true member league around the country.
Yeah, what were the 2 teams that were left? It was Oregon State and Washington State. Why did they just go to the Mountain West?
Correct.
Like, why are we forming a new conference with those 2 bum teams anyway and adding 6 to 7 more bum teams and try to play it off as the Pac-12 here at this point? That's what's getting me upset. If you would have told me today they're going to do a new conference and just call it, I don't know, the Northwestern 9. I'm like, hey, you know what? That's pretty cool. Okay, they got a new set here. Let's see what they can do. But using that Pac-12 when they don't even have 12 teams, and it's such a disgraceful, appearance on these teams compared to what the Pac-12 actually was, that's what gets me riled up at this point. And then also, I know it's going to come down the line too. Oh, well, the Pac-12, we just took that over, so we should be a Power 5 conference right off the bat here. Stop the madness. This conference stinks.
So I'm not going to disparage the great name of some very proud football programs like Boise State.
You're a Big Ten
Fresno
guy.
State,
Let it
Colorado
rip.
State.
Let it rip.
Well,
Let it rip.
You got to feel for the Pac-12. And the reason they are trying to still have that branding, we all forget, DRS, that over a decade ago, 2012, 2013, 2014, before Larry Scott idiotically tried to build up a network that never had distribution, the Pac-12 had the best TV deal in the country. The Pac-12 was seen like the Big Ten and the SEC now as one of the bigger leagues among the Power 5. So they're trying to keep over 100 years of legacy and tradition with that branding. But it is going to be costly if these reports are correct. We are supposed to get some official announcements within the next hour, early out there in the Mountain Time Zone and on the West Coast, because those Mountain West schools would have to pay the league $17 million in an exit fee. And on top of that, somewhere in the ballpark of $10 to $12 million because of the scheduling alliance that is happening this year between the Pac-2, that's Oregon State and Wazoo, and the Mountain West that has allowed the Beavs and the Cougs to play 6 of the member schools from the Mountain West. There ain't no loyalty, DRS, or even friendships when it comes to college football.
No, there's not. Now, you know me, Ben. I like to equate things to other sports here, but I'm going to equate the Pac-12 here to real life. Mrs. DRS wants to leave Mr. DRS. She's not taking that name. I'm stripping it. That name is going right back, baby. You know what I mean? Like this is how we have to sort of look at these things. You can't take the Pac-12 away from the former Pac-12. You want to leave me, my wife, and you want to take my name? Taking it back. Stop it. Not allowed to have.
I miss you, man. I miss you, man.
Yeah.
Literally 2 days is too long to be apart from each other. Maybe she would be Mrs. Rye's side? No T? Just Rye's side? We'll see about that.
I mean,
Maybe
look,
that's a different story.
It's not happening.
Yeah.
There are exclusive licensing agreements. When you walk down that aisle, you make that licensing agreement with that name.
Right.
You have a right to snatch it back if that person does not want to stay with that licensing agreement. Same thing with the Pac-12. Can't use it. Can't use it.
I appreciate that you would take back right side and maybe not another name like Seymour, but whatever. Anyway, as we go around some other college football news, Donnie, we're going to have about a minute and 15 seconds after I tee this up for your unfiltered thoughts. Michigan announces head coach Sharon Moore has officially signed his contract. Go.
Why was the man working without a contract at this point? And Michigan, if he wasn't under contract, that's the perfect time to fire him after that game. No loss, no harm. You go out and find a new coach at this point. Now, granted, how did he even operate as the head coach without a I'm missing something big here where he finally signed his name on that contract. My God, how did that even happen? The minute Harbaugh left, that should have been in gear, ready to go, signed, sealed, and delivered. The man didn't have a contract, and my goodness, after a horrible loss, then you get your new contract? It's kind of crazy world right now, Ben. It really is.
Handshake agreement, I guess, some back pay being installed into the fine lines of that contractual deal. All the leverage, though, from Sharon's side after building up what he did, filling in for Jim Harbaugh in the adversity-filled, brought on by themselves season last year for the Wolverines, gone. As the jokes were made, as Donnie said right before we hit the break, he ran to the table and signed that with a pen very, very quickly after getting dismantled and dominated inside the big house in the areas where Sharon Moore is at his best, in the trenches by Texas on Saturday afternoon. We're off to a flying start. Thursday night football preview in Miami up next.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't even. You can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes! Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
Week 2 of the 2024 National Football League season is already here. Our first short week Thursday night football game of the year tonight in Miami. And as they like to do, until we get to like week 8, week 9, week 10, when the games start to lack a little bit of juice, early in the year, some really marquee matchups, including this divisional duel between the Dolphins and the Bills tonight. Right now, both teams listed as a co-favorite to win the AFC East. Of course, they ended 2023 against one another in Western New York. It was Buffalo and Miami in a winner-take-all game for the divisional championship. Buffalo won 5 straight to end the year in its 4th consecutive AFC East crown. They face off tonight in South Florida. We'll get to the weather for the game. We'll get to the line in just a moment. But, Donnie, we start with availability. And for the Dolphins, after coming back last week to hold off the Jacksonville Jaguars in their season opener, winning 20-17, it wasn't the most prolific offensive attack out of Miami, especially on the ground against the Jags. Maybe injury a concern. This from NFL Network's Ian Rappaport yesterday afternoon. Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel telling reporters that Raheem Mostert is out for Thursday night against the Bills. As for the second-year pro Devon Achane, he is a game-time decision. Quote, "We'll see. What do you make of the Dolphins' backfield entering Thursday night football against Buffalo?"
It's big news. It really is, because you look at that Miami backfield, and they're built like sprinters, that entire offense. Both wide receivers, looking at Waddle and also Tyreek Hill, they can beat you in a foot race. And the same thing with the running backs here. You can hit a home run from any shot on the field with the Dolphins. So now if you're telling me Raheem Mostert is going to miss this game, and that's Mr. Touchdown typically for the Miami Dolphins, he sits this one out. And then you're going to tell me Devon Achane, who is built on speed, right, Ben? He's dealing with an ankle injury, limited in practice yesterday. They're going to expect him to give it a go, but that's not going to be 100%. So now we're looking more on Tua Tagovailoa tonight and the wide receiving core. Mike McDaniel's a great head coach. He is going to be fine at this spot. But having said that, boy, if they were all full blast on this Thursday night, that would be a big advantage for the Miami Dolphins. We'll see how they can overcome that. But I do trust their offensive scheme, and Tua Tagovailoa over 300 yards passing last week. Probably expect more of the same tonight, Ben.
338 and a touchdown last week. That long strike to Tyreek Hill, an 80-yarder in the second half that sparked the comeback over Jacksonville. They were down by 10 at the break. They were down 14-zip early in the opening half against the Jaguars. And the ground game was not great. 25 rushing attempts for Miami in its season opener last week against Jacksonville at home for only 81 yards, just 3.2 yards per pop. Achane did score the touchdown for Miami on the ground and had the most carries. Raheem Mostert, only 6 rush attempts for 9 yards. Jeff Wilson Jr., familiar with McDaniel, dating back to their days in San Francisco, did end the game as Miami's leading rusher. He had 5 carries for 26 yards. Now let's talk about some of the weather. Joe Ranieri here on Tuesday, our native Miamian on the Sports Grid Network. Craig Mish as well. Both did mention, though, DRS, weather this weekend and throughout the week in South Florida, not expected to be great. A ton of storms throughout the afternoon hours today in Miami. By the time we get to kick tonight around 8:15 p.m. local time, supposed to taper off, a chance of showers. The wind cools down a little bit as well. But we saw this total at 50.5 earlier in the week, now down by a full 2 points to 48 and a hook.
But here's what I do like about, Hard Rock Stadium. If anybody's ever been there, it looks beautiful. It's aesthetically pleasing. But for one area of the country, it is kind of interesting that they didn't put a retractable roof on top. Now, I say this by saying I probably would like the retractable roof because then it gives you more clean playing field. You don't have to worry about it as a handicapper. But as playing in the elements means something here, you know as well as I do, Ben. If there was a retractable roof just like down there for the Miami Marlins who play in Lone Depot Park, they never opened the thing. So I'm actually glad that there are elements and it can rain through the top of that stadium. But also, there are some detriments to doing that. You tell me right now that I have an over 48.5 or 49.5. The game is 7-7 in the first quarter, and here comes the deluge of rain coming down there. I'm going to be upset about that. It does add some intrigue. And also, all throughout the night, we're looking, Ben, 25 to 30% precipitation. But Miami weather, different than the rest of the country. At any moment, you can get a ton of rain coming in, even if it's in for 3 or 4 minute spurts at that point. Something to keep an eye on. I'm glad we have boots on the ground down there in Miami. Let us know that. It's good stuff. Yeah.
Yes, we certainly do. A 2.5-point spread in favor of the Finns. A full-blown breakdown in hour 2 and throughout the 3 hours on this show. Both teams coming back from down by as many as 2 scores early in the opening half in their opener. Buffalo at home knocking off Arizona 34-28. MLB recaps from a busy Wednesday. Up next here on a Thursday on TEL.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes! Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
A full Wednesday around Major League Baseball. Listen, we have about 2.5 weeks remaining in this regular season. Each and every day, each and every game for those in the hunt for October has some sort of playoff ramification. That, of course, the case yesterday up in the 6th in the rubber match between the Mets and the Blue Jays. Bowden Francis, who is named after Bobby Bowden, and his father a big Florida State fan, just to confirm, in 2 of his last 4 starts, DRS, has entered the 9th inning riding a no-hit bid. He has been great since the start of August, as we will share. In 8 starts, he has only allowed 8 total earned runs, including just 1 yesterday, as he took the no-hit bid into the top of the 9th. Francisco Lindor at the dish hits a solo shot against Francis. So then he is taken out of the game. From then on, the New York Mets in a tied baseball game at 1-all in the top of the 9th score 5 more runs, including a 3-run home run off the bat of Francisco Alvarez. And the New York Mets win 6-2, scoring all 6 runs in the 9th after not recording a single hit in the first 8 frames.
Yeah, I wonder how analytics actually like that game from Bowden Francis. The reason I bring that up, we very rarely see this. He's going into the 9th inning with a no-hitter, Ben. He's got 1 strikeout, which means the ball was in play constantly throughout the night because he only had 1 walk here. That's incredible. Like that BABIP rate that he has, batting average of balls in play, that's astoundingly good and quite frankly, extremely lucky. But also, if you are the Mets, love to see the fight back. You're beaten down for 8 innings here in a game you absolutely must win to hang around in that wild card race. And in the 9th inning, it's like, hey, man, this guy's coming out here again. We haven't touched him all night. And then you get 6 total runs to win 6-2.
Crazy.
That is an impressive performance because if you're on just social media, you're saying, hey, this guy's got a no-hitter going like, oh, wow, they're going to win 1-0. And then if you just flash back in a couple minutes and saw the Mets scored 6 times on a guy that had a no-hitter into the 9th. Now, granted, he only had the 1 earned run, got knocked out of the game, but the bullpen completely fell through. That is a great win for the New York Mets in one of those games where you're just throwing in the towel saying nothing is working here, and let alone you score 6 runs. And as I pointed out on the opening, how could you have this in the top of the 9th inning with a guy throwing a no-hitter in a 1-0 game, lose in 9 innings, not even in extras, your total? That's got to be one of the worst beats I've ever seen.
So then hopefully, if you're an underbacker and you're feeling great for 8 innings, and then you see the Mets score 6 in the top of the 9th, you're like, all right, the Blue Jays stink. They just lost this game. Gutless, as a certain man on the SportsGrid network would say. Don't score a run then in the bottom of the 9th to push us to an over of a total at 7.5. We feel for all of you underbackers yesterday with some afternoon baseball up in Toronto. So the Mets win the series, taking the rubber match. New York has won 11 of their last 13 games to maintain that lead in the National League wild card standings over the Braves, who yesterday were in Washington for the second game of a 2-game set, hoping to sweep the Nats in the nation's capital and booked as a heavy road favorite. The Nats had other ideas. They win 5-1 over Atlanta to split this short 2-game set. So now you look at the National League wild card standings, and the New York Mets DRS a full game in front of Atlanta.
What a game. And this is why baseball is fantastic. How about you just roll reverse the night before? Ronaldo Lopez, oh, no, I'm hurt. I only pitched 1 inning. Oh, it looks like we can lose this game. You win it 12-0. You throw one of your top 3 pitchers on the mound yesterday and Max Fried, you end up losing 5-1 to the Washington Nationals. And again, why this hit so hard is the Mets picking up that win and coming back from being no hit through 8 innings and securing that victory, then scoreboard watch and watch the Atlanta Braves take that defeat yesterday. This is going to be such a fun thing to watch over the final 3 weeks, but it just goes to show you the Washington Nationals are dead and buried. They got smashed yesterday, the day before, and then you're looking at just an easy sweep here, only to get beat 5-1. It's so mad. And also, what, -170, -180 prices started around that -160 number for the Braves. And I thought the Braves would be the right play here. Finish off the sweep, need the victory. They just drew dead yesterday.
Yeah, really unfortunate for Atlanta, but that's been the hiccup for the Braves this year. When they need offense, they don't get it. They spent all of their resources, it appears, on Tuesday night, blanking the Nats 12-0 on the road. Dylan Cruz, by the way, for Washington, who was the 2nd overall pick in the 2023 MLB draft behind his teammate from LSU, Paul Skeens, called up now for 14 games in the bigs for the Nats. 2 for 4 yesterday at the dish with an RBI. He's got 7 ribbies in his MLB career already. And when you look at Atlanta DRS, since August 21st, they are now 12-8. But outside of 2 weekends ago, losing 3 of 4 against Philadelphia, they've won 11 of 16. It's just a costly loss yesterday. Now has Atlanta on the outside looking in at the National League wild card chase. Again, a full game behind the New York Mets. Elsewhere in Major League Baseball yesterday, late night in Seattle, the second of a short 2-game set between the Padres and the Mariners. Seattle splits the set, winning 5-2 over San Diego. The Padres won the opener. Manny Machado made history. Seattle returns the favor on a Wednesday night.
By the way, Mr. Wu now for the Seattle Mariners. Watch out, Ben. Did you know he's actually 8-2 on the season with an ERA of 2.38? It's a shame because the Mariners actually have a very good and young frontline pitching staff, but they just haven't been able to equate to enough victories this year. Now 74-72, but they are still in that AL West race with Houston letting them sort of back in. But also, this is a game we broke down yesterday, Ben. 6.5 was the total in this game. 5-2 final. They get the 7, and it wasn't Michael King's fault either. 5 innings pitched, only 1 earned runs. You can't have those errors and give extra outs to opposing Major League Baseball teams. They did that yesterday, and that helped them in a victory for the Seattle Mariners. But boy, good pitching matchup on the hill here. And it's just funny because that Northwestern staff, it's like, we'll see what happens in Seattle. They got some really good pitchers. If, and it's a big one, they can make it into the playoffs, they can scramble with anybody 1 through 3, 1 through 4 in that lineup. It's pretty good.
For sure. Brian Wu now a 2.38 ERA as well. Logan Gilbert very solid for this Seattle team as well. 3.5 game deficit for the Mariners in the American League West, and they're thankful for it because the Astros have lost 3 consecutive games. Seattle's won 5 of their last 7, still 4 games below 500, 22-26 since the All-Star break, but they do have some life here in the final 2.5 weeks of this MLB season. Of course, San Diego and Arizona, we'll get to the D-backs in just a second, were the 2 hottest clubs by a large margin from the All-Star break on. San Diego 22-6 from the All-Star break up until August 20th. About a month of MLB action. They're now an even 500 since 10-10, cooling off ever so slightly. That was the case for Arizona. And then this week happened in a short 2-game set in in Phoenix against the Rangers. The D-backs yesterday, minus 166 as a home money line favorite. They won the first game 6-0. They win the second and final game 14-4 over Texas. A lot of offense in the desert for the D-backs.
Yeah, I like the D-backs team, man. That 1 through 9 in that lineup, when they get going, they are certainly dominant. And Merrill Kelly on the mound, who's not a great pitcher. How would you like this? Hey, I only gave you 4 innings and gave up 3 earned runs, and it didn't matter because that offense cranked out 2 touchdowns worth of offense. Bradford was on the mound, and this is how you know you're winding down the season, right, Ben? Hey, kid, give us as much as you can. 3 2/3 innings pitched, 9 hits, 8 of those runs earned in that ball game. And by the way, with that number, he only improved to a 3.97 ERA. So I don't know what his ERA was coming into the game, but giving up 8 earned runs and still keeping it under 4 is actually pretty impressive. Diamondbacks 82-64 now in the season. But to see the big news for the Texas Rangers, hey, Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer are coming back to the rotation just in time to what? Play golf? Man.
Yeah, very much so. The Diamondbacks, by the way, have now won 3 straight. They take both of these games against Texas. Ketel Marte, 4 ribbies yesterday. Adrian Del Castillo, the young rookie catcher for the D-backs, 3 RBIs as well. DRS, Arizona was 26-8 until August 25th, from the All-Star break on. They entered yesterday just 6-8 from that point. They're now 7-8. Texas entered this short 2-game set in the desert, winning 10 of their last 13 with maybe some hope for deGrom and Scherzer. They stunk it up in the desert. More MLB recaps up next.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes! Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
More Major League Baseball recaps bright and early on this Thursday from a full Wednesday slate around the bigs. That includes in Los Angeles, downtown L.A. at the Ravine. The Dodgers in a 3-game set against the Cubs lost the opening 2, trying to avoid the sweep last night at home against Chicago. Booked as greater than $1.60 favorite on the money line. And it was an interesting game. We saw 7 runs combined between the two teams in the opening frame. Then Chicago played it a ton. The Dodgers had to rally in the 7th. RBI single from Gavin Lux gave L.A. the lead. Some insurance from Tommy Edman with his 2nd home run of the game. DRS, Edman has 4 home runs this year, half of them last night in Los Angeles as the Dodgers avoid the sweep with a 10-8 win over Chicago. We'll talk Shohei Ohtani and his track for history in just a moment as well.
The game easily goes over the total. Look at the starting pitchers in this game, Ben. 3 innings pitched, 7 earned runs for Wicks for the Cubs. And you flip it over to the Dodgers. Miller, the young pitcher, was on the mound 4 1/3 innings pitched, 6 earned runs there. So any one of these teams was like, hey, we're lucky we're even in this ball game due to what our starting pitchers put us through. But that's the sign of the Dodgers here. Talent all the way up and down that roster. Just about each and every guy in that 1 through 6 seemingly that they can go yard at any time. And maybe the 2 best players overall in the National League on the same team that bat 1 and 2 in that lineup. It's never over. You never put away the Dodgers until that final out, and you saw that yesterday. 10 runs for the Dodgers, and it's kind of interesting to see, like, oh, they avoided the sweep. That's crazy because, by the way, the Chicago Cubs have been a little bit on fire here, Ben, at the offense over the past month or so. Put up an 8 spot and took a loss to the Dodgers. The Philadelphia Phillies trying to stay ahead of the Dodgers, 1-game lead. That would have been nice for the Phillies if the Cubs were able to win once again against the Dodgers, but they weren't. 87-59, good win by the Dodgers. Good comeback here, never giving up on that one.
A lot of runs scored in this 3-game set out in the Ravine. 14 when Chicago won Game 1 on Monday. Only 9, I guess, in Game 2. 18 to end it out. Shohei Ohtani, a solo home run, his 47th of the year. He also stole a base last night, make that 48 stolen bags. He is 3 homers and 2 stolen bases away from becoming the first ever member of the 50-50 club in Major League Baseball history. An exclusive club at that. That would be 50 home runs and 50 stolen bases in a season. DRS, the Dodgers have more than 15 games remaining this year. You think Shohei Ohtani gets there?
I think he does get there, and that's what I was just going to ask. Like, I didn't check out the FanDuel Sportsbook, but if they don't, they should have that 50-50, number up there as either a bonus or a bust, because the one thing that we do know, great players that are in the midst of doing something historically, typically that team will let that player do that. Now, in the past, we've seen guys go from the 3 or the 4 hole up to the 1 hole just to be able to get as many at-bats as possible. He's already there. He's going to get it. But the one thing we do know, he'll get the steals easily, and as long as they pitch to him, he's going to hit 3 more home runs. He really is.
They don't have the 50-50 market available. They have the National League Triple Crown at plus 1,700 for him to do that. It was minus 430. Our producer extraordinaire, Joe Frizo, who tracks all of these numbers and odds, said about the 50-50 club on Monday. So it is heavily skewed for him to do it. You would think needing just 3 home runs and 2 stolen bases. And the Dodgers, as I do my quick math, have played 146 games, so they have 16 remaining. You would think that he would be able to do that. DRS Chicago has split their last 10, but the Cubbies have still won 10 of their last 14, but they're still 5 games back of the National League wild card. So we've given you all of those teams that are really in competition for those 3 wild card spots. The D-backs in first, half game up over the Padres, who have a game and a half up over the Mets for that 2nd and 3rd spot, respectively. The Mets maintain that 1-game lead over Atlanta.
Yeah, no, and it's going to be something to watch down the stretch. And so there are going to be some teams that are going to play spoiler. And the thing we always bring up, which is even that, like the Washington Nationals, just because teams aren't going to win, there's still individual statistics that these players are playing for. Do you think pitchers go out there the final 3 weeks of the season if they're not going to make the playoffs? Nope, I'm not even going to throw a curveball tonight. If you want to hammer me and get me out of here in 5 innings, let me give up 6 earned runs. That's not the case here. And the same thing with batters. Like, you're playing for next season. You're playing for contracts here. Nobody's going up to the plate saying, just get this at bat over. Let me strike out really quickly. And that's why you talk about going down like, ooh, look at the, tankathon or whatever you're looking at, the strength of schedule going down. That's a win. That's a win. You can't do that in Major League Baseball. Teams are still going to be fighting here. Understandably, they won't be as good as those other teams, but you can't just expect sweeps against teams that are out of it when you need that victory. And that's something, a little bit of food for thought down the stretch.
Absolutely so. Chicago is playing with that fire as of this moment. As Donnie mentioned, the Phils still ahead of the Dodgers for that number one spot in the National League. So as we go elsewhere around Major League Baseball, I did want to make this point, by the way, as I just pulled up the playoff odds. Both the Mets and the Braves have a minus money price on FanDuel, minus 165 for New York, minus 135 for Atlanta. That's interesting. And the Braves actually have a better price at plus 190 to be the number 6 seed in the National League postseason bracket than New York. Plus 190 for the Braves, plus 220 for the Amazons. What do you make of that quickly, Donnie?
Yeah, it just must be the betting markets on who's actually placing the wagers and the money that they're taking in, because it's kind of interesting. You would figure that it would be like saying, Ben, like the Yankees and the Orioles would have minus money prices to win their own division. So that doesn't make sense, because typically if the wild card, that last one you're playing for, both can't get in at this point. Only one can get in. So it is an oddity there that you brought up for sure.
I think the odds makers are hesitant to fully say that Atlanta is on the outside looking in at the playoffs, knowing where the Braves have been from an odds perspective virtually all MLB season long. Walking it off in extras up in the Bronx. That's what Jazz Chisholm did yesterday. 4-3 the victory for the Yanks in 11 innings in the rubber match over KC. New York wins the set over Kansas City, and our guy Luis, don't call him Lucas, after being on the IL for a couple of weeks, has been great in his 2 starts since.
Kansas City Royals, you lost this game. Why? Not because you didn't have great pitching. You did. Reagans went 6 innings and gave you 2 earned runs there. That should be good enough. Look at the runners in scoring position, Ben. 0 for 11 for Kansas City. That'll do you in every single time. And by the way, there's no panic button that they're pushing in New York here, because they're still in first place. That's back-to-back games, Ben. The game before, they didn't have a runner in scoring position. This game, including extras, which puts a runner in scoring position, they were 1 for 3. Where's that offense? Where are you at, Aaron Judge? Start heating up, brother.
15-game drought without hitting a home run, tied for the longest in his MLB career. And the reason the Yanks still have a 1.5 game lead in the American League East is because the Red Sox walked it off in 10 innings yesterday. Tyler O'Neill, a 3-run shot. More on the early line next.
The Bostonian versus the book.
Would it make you feel better as a bettor or as a sports fan if they said after the game we were trying to cover the spread?
Oh, God. To say it out loud? Oh, my God, no.
So what,
to say it out loud? Oh, my God. You can't say that out loud. No, you can't even. You can't do that.
Okay, so what is the big deal either way?
Oh, play the game the right way.
The Bostonian versus the book.
I feel like the first person to take a kicker in fantasy football is somebody that feels like, man, I had a really bad draft. Let me make sure I get the best kicker. The way I've always looked at it that way. Like, oh, I did so bad, so let me take Justin Tucker.
The key for me is, though, I make marks. Okay, this guy, I'll highlight him because I don't want 3 or 4 of these guys. I draft 3 or 4 of these guys and they all get hurt. I have no one to blame but me.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
When you're really, really amazing like this, people kind of take it for granted. Same with Ohtani, right? People will sort of see, oh, Ohtani did this, Ohtani did that, and it sort of, becomes normalized a little bit. But to put in context, Aaron Judge joins the 1,000 hit club, reaches, gets it done. So earlier this month, he was the fastest player to reach 300 home runs ever.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
Let's go. Welcome to the Live Golf Team Championship. The golf has been mesmerizing. They are the Live Golf Team Champions.
Team golf is back.
Oh, yes! Are you ready?
Let's go!
That's what champions do.
A little WNBA action from a Wednesday night around the league. Also in the home stretch right before the postseason, about 4 or 5 games remaining for all 12 clubs around the WNBA. In history made last night in Indianapolis, no, not by Caitlin Clark, but by A'ja Wilson, the best basketball player on planet Earth. 27 points, 12 boards last night against the Fever to lead Las Vegas into Indy, and they pick up an 86-75 win. The Aces did drop a marquee game on Sunday to the New York Liberty in that title rematch. Of course, A'ja Wilson did not play. She did last night, and the Aces cover as a 4.5-point favorite on the road. 27 points, 12 rebounds for A'ja Wilson. It was a jumper in the final 30 seconds of the opening half that moved her past Jewell Loyd, who set the record last year for the most points recorded in a single season in WNBA history. She needed to get past 939. She did, and ended up with a tally of 956 after the victory over Indiana.
It's pretty incredible when you see it on a night-to-night basis because, you know, you see some of the statistics and the stat lines here. And now with the, I don't know if it's just better athletes coming into the NBA. They're just in a better setting because A'ja Wilson, it's like 25-10 every night. That's unheard of statistics here. And it's not as if they're playing as long as like an NBA game would be where you can accumulate those statistics. She's been absolutely phenomenal. And when you move into the playoffs, you already know the Aces are a good team, won the world championship before. But when you're like the outside jumper isn't working and she can just kill you on the low blocks or inside the paint, that's just demoralizing for the other team. But again, we talk about Shohei Ohtani with what he does on a night-to-night basis. It's a shame that sometimes you look at A'ja Wilson and say, 27-12, yep, that's what she's supposed to do. Those are incredible stat lines in the WNBA that she does on a night-to-night basis. One of the best, if not maybe, Ben, the best season of all time from a WNBA player.
Completely agreed, DRS. You're laying juice for A'ja Wilson to record 20 and 10 and the Aces to win each and every time. Again, that is the expectation. Las Vegas' expectation as well is to contend for a WNBA championship, try to become the first 3-time repeat champ since before this new millennium. They were the first since the Sparks in the early 2000s to win back-to-back WNBA titles. They beat the Liberty in a 5-game series, winning 3 of the first 4. Now it's New York, booked as the favorite. And the Aces haven't been nearly as stellar as they were a year ago. They were just 6-5 since the All-Star and Olympic break entering last night. For comparison's sake, they were 34-6 the entirety of last season. And the Fever were playing really good ball and still are. They've won 8 of 11 since that Olympic break. In 6 of their last 8, they've already clinched their first playoff appearance since 2016. So last night, we've got the MVP runaway favorite and the Rookie of the Year runaway favorite as well. A'ja Wilson facing off against Caitlin Clark. Not a great shooting night for Cece, just making 1 3, 16 points, 3 boards, and 6 dimes. DRS snapping a 5-game streak of Caitlin Clark putting up at least 25 points and 8 assists in 5 consecutive games.
Yeah, the defense was on point there for the Aces, no question about it. And also, so many times we talk about the WNBA and how they match up and say, boy, why are they putting this game on this day? Well, on a non-football night, you take a look at the Aces and the Fever, I bet you they did some pretty good ratings across the league because everybody likes to watch the Aces with their star power and then Caitlin Clark of the Fever. Even though that game was 86-75, probably had some really good ratings in that one. And good for them. We are heading down the stretch into the playoffs here. Let's see some of these teams, some upsets down the stretch, but also more importantly, you say if something, what, the top 4, that's probably the teams that you're going to be looking at winning the WNBA at this point, running away with things.
When you look at the standings right now, all right, a 12-team league, so 8 of them make the postseason. Last year, only 4 teams reached the playoffs with a winning record. Right now, the top 6 all have a winning record, including Indiana. Phoenix has already clinched a playoff berth despite being 2 games below 500. So, again, as we look at those WNBA title odds, it is still that tier of 2 at the top, the New York Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces. But keep an eye on the Minnesota Lynx, who have been great this year. And, of course, the Connecticut Sun can do it all. Interesting game in the playoff realm last night out in Chicago. The Washington Mystics go into the Windy City as a short 1.5-point favorite and win by 30+ over Chicago. Of course, the Sky without Angel Reese for the end of this regular season. Her season done with the wrist injury that she announced over the weekend. But the Mystics now only a game behind the Sky for that 8th and final playoff spot in the WNBA. Thursday Night Football kicks off week number 2. That's how we'll start hour 2 on the other side of the break.